Hello, so glad you can make it. Now we can get started. Today's project is actually part 2 of the collectible gnomes. I'll show you how to make all these different hats for the gnomes. Now I have made a little body, and the bodies are all the same. They're just different colors. I'm not going to make a bunch of different bodies because you can just go to that other video and get the body pattern for this. I am in the process of writing a PDF pattern that will include the bodies and all of these hats that I've made today. You even have a fedora. So let's go write some more patterns while we crochet these hats for this tutorial. For this tutorial, you will need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, your crochet hook. Mine is of 4mm, a pair of tweezers, and I just have a broken pencil to help with stuffing. You'll need a little bit of stuffing and your yarn colors. This is the hot pink and purple. It is the Big Twist Posh, and we are going to be making this kind of hat for the first one with the turned up front like this. And we're just making the hats, and we have several different hats to make. We're going to start with the color of yarn you'd like for your hat, and since I have chosen pink and purple, we're going to start with the pink. We start with a magic ring, and we will put 5 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and then we're going to do an increase in each stitch, and I use an invisible increase. I grab the back loop to make the first increase, and the front loop, actually grab both of them to make the second stitch. We're going to do this all the way around. There will be 10 stitches when you're done. Okay, when you're done with that, turn it right side out and make sure you pull that magic ring tighter. Okay, for round number 3, we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. We are going to do 4 single crochets and an increase all the way down until we get to a total of 10 rows. So the next 7 rows will be 4 single crochet and an increase. Okay, and you can see the start of the second row right here. So this is where I'm going to end it. And I do a slip stitch and I leave a long tail so that I can sew it onto the gnome. And you can see it kind of looks like a witch's hat. This hat is made exactly the same way, just in different colors. This hat is made exactly the same way. So after we get to this point, we're going to take our second color and we're going to go up a couple of rows, just like this. And we're going to start in the back, take our second color, or whichever color you want to make the hat band, and crochet that right onto the hat. Just follow the line, crochet it right on. And then make sure you meet up with your first stitch on the back. And then I leave a long tail on this. And I hook those two together. And then I go up here into the front somewhere and I create a little flower. And I bring that through, make a loop, go up here for a couple of stitches. And just go around and make another loop. Stick that right in behind that loop. Come up in the middle. And put a flower on the hat. And I bring that down. Pull this tail through. And then I will knot these two. Then I'll place this where I want it on here and sew it down directly onto the gnome, just like this. And when it gets almost to the end, I'll just pull it, take this piece of thread, and just stitch that hat curl into place, and then put it on my gnome, and then sew it down. And I showed you how to do that in the last video. So there's that hat. This hat is made in a very similar way, but it's a little bit taller. Still has the flower and the band. So we're going to go back to our pink. On this one, we're going to start with a magic ring. Make sure you pull that tail out. We're going to do 5 single crochet into the magic ring. Just like this. We're going to do an increase, and a single crochet, an increase, a single crochet, and an increase. And that's row 2. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. Okay, for the next row, I'm going to do 3 single crochets and an increase. Okay, now we shouldn't have too much trouble turning that right side out. Now we're going to do 4 single crochets and an increase. And we're going to continue to do 4 single crochet and an increase until we have 12 rows. We have 6 now. Okay, you've done this until you have 10 rows. Chain 4, skip this stitch, and slip stitch. Skip this stitch and slip stitch into this one. And if you single crochet into that one, it is not going to make any difference. It won't hurt a thing. Makes it just a little bit fuller. See, I'll show you what it does. Just can't really tell that you have single crocheted instead of the slip stitch. So it's however you want. Actually, I think a single crochet there is easier than doing the slip stitch. And then leave your long tail to sew it on to your gnome. And you can decorate this hat just like the others. Grab your purple yarn. And for this one, I just liked the edge to be close to my little ruffle down here. And if you want a flat band, then just chain. I have chained 32. I'm going to leave a long tail, kind of an extra long tail. And then I'm going to get the pretty side of the chain and start that right there. Hook these two together because it makes it easier when you're going around to know how much space you have. Okay, and then come back up through the top. And then I just weave a stitch through this to hold it in place. And I skip about every other stitch because all I want it to do is hold it in place. Okay, now that we're back around to the top, you can go back to the front and make your flower. Just make a loop. You can crochet a flower and put it on here. I just find this is just a little bit decoration and it's easier. Sew that to your gnome. Put that flower to the side, at the top. You can sew another band on it, however you like. Just make sure that you cover up around the nose when you sew it on. If this video has helped you, please like and subscribe. It's free. Now we're going to make the cowboy gnome hat. Again, this is any color you like. I'm going to start with a magic ring. Still using a 4mm hook. 5 single crochet into the magic ring. This time we're going to increase in each stitch. Then we're just going to crochet around of single crochets. That's 10 single crochets. Make sure that's magic ring is tight. And then we're going to start with 4 single crochets and an increase. Okay, when you have a total of 8 rows, we're going to do a front post stitch because we want this hat to have this sharp angle right here to point out. And I do that by the front post stitch. So I go under this post and single crochet. You get her all the way around. It'll look like this in the middle. It'll overlap just a little bit. And then we're going to do a single crochet and an increase. Single crochet and an increase. So then you have the start. You could also make the witch's hat out of this. That's not what we're making this time. Then we're going to do another single. We're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase. Leave a long tail for sewing. And now you have what looks like a very wide brim witch's hat. And it could be. Now we're going to make the hat band. And this is just faster to me than crocheting it on. And I'm crocheting 24. I'm going to sew that right into the bend. I know a lot of you don't like to sew, but you can get so many more details with a stitch than you can with just crocheting. When you add embroidery into this, the details on your amigurumi, in my opinion, are just so much better. And details sell. People like the details. It's a lot of the things that they comment on my markets is the details on my amigurumi. Okay, so then I'm going to go up here to the front just because I like decorations on them. Close that in. And I'm tired of making those little flowers. Now we just roll up the side. Just stitch down that curl. And I'm going to run this through to the other side. And I'm going to stitch down the curl over here. And just try to get it even on both sides. And fold that down there. And you put him on your gnome. And then you sew him down. And stuff that out a little bit to bring it back out. Set it on there and sew it. Okay, I'm tired of looking at that pink. So we're going to switch it up here. And we're going to do the Christmas tree gnome. We're just going to do the hat. Okay, and so get whatever colors you want for your Christmas tree. I am going to use this. This is bok choy. And this is just some little bit of scraps that I've gotten from Temu. Just in the different colors. I can't read that, so I don't really know what color they are. HT 1992. I'm not sure. But here's the yellow. And we're going to start with magic ring of 4. Make sure that tail's pulled out. Put put 4 single crochets into the magic ring. And I don't pull this very tight yet because then I can't get the top turned. I'll lock that in, and I'm going to grab this first loop and I'm going to change to the green. And then we're going to do a single crochet and an increase. Single crochet and an increase. For row 3, I'm going to do a single crochet and an increase, just like row 2. Okay, and rows 4 and 5, we're going to do 3 single crochet and an increase. And now we're going to switch and do 4 single crochets and an increase for the next 5 rows. Okay, so there's 10 rows. And now we're going to make this little edge. So we're going to do 1 and an increase, 1 single crochet and an increase. And leave a long tail for sewing. Make sure it covers your gnome. And when I sew this one on, I sew it a little bit tighter so that it kind of bunches that up a little bit. You can see how it's indented, and it just kind of makes that little flip that covers the edges. Okay, so then I take my other colors, start somewhere, and just randomly make a loop. And I make sure that I kind of do this a little bit loose so that it shows up. And when I get done with that color, I just tie it off and move on to the next color. This is completely random. I guess I do kind of work in circles because that helps me to make it fill in a little better, get a more even distribution of my colors, I guess. It's kind of a mess on the inside. Nobody will ever see it. Right there on your note. Let's sew it down. Next one is the fedora. And I'm switching to this tan color. It is also the Posh yarn from Joann's. And we're going to start with a magic ring. That looks ridiculous. Okay, starting over. Start with a single crochet or a magic ring. And this time we're going to put 5 single crochets into the magic ring. And then we're going to do an increase and a single crochet. And I'm starting with the increase because I want 3 increases in this row. So increase and single crochet, and increase and single crochet. Okay. Okay, when you get back around, now we're going to go a single crochet, all the way around, then we're going to start with a single crochet and an increase. Single crochet and an increase. Okay, now we're going to do 2 single crochets. If you want to use a stitch marker, now would be the time to do it. 2 single crochets. I guess you could have used one all along, but I don't happen to like them. But this one is a little bit more needed, I guess, to show you what I'm doing. Because right now I don't really know yet. I have the picture in my mind. Now I just got it to come out of... I have to get it to come out my fingers. Okay. Now we are going to do 2 rounds of a single crochet in each stitch. We're going to do the next row in a front post stitch. Okay, when you get around to that, we're going to do a single crochet and an increase. And we're going to do this for 2 rounds. to make the hat band. Gotta have a hat band. You could change colors while you're crocheting this in, but it doesn't give this clean of an edge, and I just like the clean edge. And I don't mind the sewing because I like the end results. Now that we have that part, we're going to take our tail from the center and we're going to punch that down in. And then I'm going to loosely stitch that to the sides. And I'm using that middle tail to sew that on there with. And there is your fedora. And then you have a gnome with a fedora. I love it. And just sew that onto your gnome. And this next hat is just kind of a fun hat that I've just been thinking about. So we'll just materialize it into something for our gnome. Start with a magic ring and put 6 single crochet into the magic ring. This one I'm using the brown and yellow. And then I'm going to do a single crochet or an increase and a single crochet. And the next row, I'm going to do 2 single crochet and an increase. And now I want that a little bigger, so we're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. So the next row, we're going to go a single crochet and an increase all the way around. And then I'm going to switch to bright yellow. And now we're just going to make some petals. Do a single crochet, double crochet, double crochet, and I'm going to do a 2-stitch picot, and then a double crochet, and a slip. I'm going to chain 1 and do a double crochet in the next stitch, and another double crochet into that stitch, and chain 2, hook back into the top of that last double crochet, can't seem to get a hold of it, slip stitch that, and then double crochet in the next stitch, and then a slip stitch. And we're going to chain 1 and do double crochet, double crochet, chain 2, hook into the top of that double crochet, and then double crochet in the next stitch, and then a slip stitch. There we have a sunflower hat. Colors don't really go with the purple. That one may not be so good. Okay, that's it for the hats today. I'm all tuckered out. More tutorials coming up.